Good evening and welcome back to Answers on Eschatology. My name is Dan Derry and I am the president of the Institute of Fulfilled Eschatology. Hey, I want to share some more thoughts on Matthew 24:31 with you this evening, specifically concerning Israel's second Exodus, and that Exodus would be Israel's harvest into her kingdom at the end of the Old Covenant age. And I want to try to demonstrate this to you by a parallel between Numbers 27 and Matthew chapter 9 and verse 10. And I'm going to try to tie this back to Matthew 24:31 somewhere at the end of this video. So go with me to Numbers 27, and the first thing I want to do is I want to read the context of what Moses speaks to Israel just prior to his death and Israel crossing over at the end of their Exodus into their promised land. Numbers 27, and let's read this, picking up in verse 15 and 20. Then Moses spoke to the Lord, saying, May the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, appoint a man over the congregation, who will go out and come in before them, who will lead them out and bring them in, so that the congregation of the Lord will not be like sheep which have no shepherd. Notice that text. The congregation will not be like sheep which have no shepherd. So the Lord said to Moses, take Joshua the son of Nun, a man in whom is the Spirit, and lay your hand on him, and have him stand before Eleazar the priest and before the congregation, and commission him in their sight. You shall put some of your authority on him in order that the congregation of the sons of Israel may obey him. Now watch the context in which this phrase, sheep without a shepherd, is spoken in. Moses is about to die. Israel is about to inherit their promises. Moses can't go with them. He's not allowed to cross Jordan and enter into Canaan. But Moses, with the heart of a shepherd, he desires that Israel, a new leader would be raised up for Israel so that they would not be like sheep without a shepherd, and that leader would bring them out of their wanderings and into their inheritance. And obviously, the Lord chooses Joshua, who is commissioned in front of all of the congregation, and Joshua receives the spirit and the authority that Moses had upon him. With that in mind, go with me to Matthew chapter 9. And I want to show you a beautiful parallel. Let's read verses 35 down to 38, and then we'll get into a chart. Jesus was going through all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every kind of disease and every kind of sickness. Seeing the people, he felt compassion for them because they were distressed and dispirited like, watch this, sheep without a shepherd. That's a direct quotation from Numbers 27. Then he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Therefore beseech the Lord of the harvest to send out workers into his harvest. Now catch the context of what Jesus is saying. He's proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom. What was the gospel of the kingdom? The kingdom of heaven is at hand. And this is in the context of the harvest. So Jesus is proclaiming to Israel their kingdom so that they would be harvested, gathered into that kingdom. Okay? But here's the thing. Jesus is about to die. Not about to in like a couple days, but his death is coming shortly. And he is desiring that his disciples would pray to the Lord that more workers would be brought into his kingdom harvest work to gather Israel into their inheritance. With that in mind, let's look at a parallel here between Numbers 27 and Matthew chapters 9 and chapter 10. Watch this. Numbers 27, Canaan was near. They were at the end of their exodus. They were about to enter their promised land. Well, in Matthew 9 and verse 10, the kingdom was near. Jesus preached it, and so did his disciples in 10 verse 7. In Numbers 27, Moses, the deliverer of that first exodus, was about to die. Well, in Matthew 9 and verse 10, it's not stated specifically, but we know that Jesus was soon to die. In Numbers 27, Moses desired that Israel would not be like sheep without a shepherd. In Matthew 9, 36 to 38, Jesus sees Israel like sheep without a shepherd. In Numbers 27, Joshua was chosen as shepherd for Israel. He is raised up to bring Israel into their inheritance. In Matthew chapter 10, 1 to 4, the 12 apostles were chosen as shepherds or as workers to bring Israel into their inheritance. In Numbers 27, authority was given to Joshua so that Israel might obey him. We see this exact parallel in Matthew 10, 1-14. The authority was given, Jesus' authority was given to the 12 apostles so that Israel might obey them. Obey them in what? The gospel of the kingdom. And in Numbers 27, 20 to 23, and paralleling that with Deuteronomy 34, 1-12, and Joshua 1, 1-6, we see that Joshua was commissioned to lead Israel into Canaan, as I've said, into their inheritance. And in Matthew chapters 9 and 10, and Acts 14, 22, we see that the 12 apostles were commissioned to lead Israel into their kingdom, into their inheritance. Now, this is just powerful evidence that shows that what was taking place through Jesus' appointing of the 12 was exactly what was taking place when Moses appointed Joshua. Moses appointed Joshua to lead Israel out of their wanderings and into their inheritance. Jesus appointed the 12 to continue his work in harvesting Israel out of an old covenant world into their inheritance. And notice this. This is what I want to end with, and we'll pick up next video. Like we read in Matthew chapter 9, verse 37, Jesus connects this second Exodus, this bringing Israel into their kingdom with the time of harvest. Watch verses 37 and 38. Jesus said to his disciples concerning the preaching of the gospel, and Israel scattered like sheep without a shepherd. The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Therefore beseech the Lord of the harvest to send out workers into his harvest. See, when we compare this idea of Israel being harvested into her kingdom, in the context of an Exodus, we see that this second Exodus was taking place to harvest Israel into her kingdom. But wait a second, when would the harvest take place? Well, where I want to go next video is Matthew chapter 13, which tells us that the harvest is the end of the age. And what did Jesus say about the end of the age in Matthew 24, verse 34? All of these things would be fulfilled in his generation. The disciples asked about the end of the age. They asked about the time of harvest. Jesus told them that their time of harvest would be at the end of that old covenant age. And what I want to demonstrate next video is that this harvesting of Israel into their kingdom that was taking place already in Matthew 9 and 10, that was typified in Numbers 27, would be fulfilled, fully accomplished at the end of the Old Covenant age in AD 70, when the elect of Israel were gathered together into the kingdom at the sounding of the great trumpet and the coming of the Son of Man on the clouds of heaven. All of this culminates at the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70. And next video, we'll look a little bit closer at the time of harvest and the end of the age, when the elect would be gathered into their kingdom. We'll pick it up next time on Answers on Eschatology. Bye for now.